delusional, demented. A vote for this toothless old dog is really a vote for Kamala Harris.
Right.
I can't wait for November.
Here we are. Take a look here.
Why should people here believe that you will succeed at creating jobs where Trump failed?
He's never succeeded in creating jobs.
You're a liar.
And I've never failed. I've created over 15 million jobs since I've been president. 15 million in three and three quarters years. And secondly, Microsoft is a serious player, and they're very much engaged in making sure that they pick this area as sort of the home base for their AI initiative in the nation. And they're gonna do it. And just like, and by the way, well, I shouldn't go into it, but Trump is, he started off with the golden shovels, you know.
The man cannot even speak.
And talked about this being,
sad.
eighth wonder of the world. When has he ever done anything he said? I'm not being facetious. Think about it. He started off, he lost, other than Herbert Hoover, he's the only other president who lost more jobs than created in his 4-year term. He's, the way he managed.
We're going to fact check all of this.
His last year when we were dealing with COVID, 1 million people died. He'd tell people inject bleach, that may do it. Wasn't a real problem. When he did an interview with one of your colleagues.
She's not pushing
What is he
back.
talking about? What is he saying?
She's
Right.
not even pushing back.
You know, it's I just, and look at what he says he's going to do if he gets elected. He says he's going to do away with what I've done on Medicare, reducing the price of Medicare drastically. He said he's going to do away with the Affordable Care Act. He said he's going to do it just down the line. So we have a very different view. I look at it from physician, not being facetious, from a Scranton perspective.
Yeah,
He wants to
right.
do more Mar-a-Lago.
A Scranton perspective. There you go.
He wants to give more significant tax cuts to the super wealthy. And we got 1,000.
All right. All right. So we got to unpack this, and there's more. I want to just unpack this first part here. All right. I want to start with you tonight on this, Tyrone. What's your response to some of the things he just said? I mean, she didn't even push back against him on any of that.
He totally ignores Donald Trump's economy up until the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay. Governors made a decision to shut their states down. The whole government engaged in mass hysteria, which resulted in people getting laid off, lots of small businesses going out of business. Okay. So it was an extraordinary circumstance that was created by government. Let's not forget that, that resulted in an abnormal situation. He says he created 15 million jobs. No, you didn't. What we saw were people coming back into the workforce who had been outside of it due to. All right. Now, I encourage everybody to take a look at bls.gov. It's the Bureau of Labor
Statistics.
The job situation in this country is abysmal. You have got more people than ever before working 2 jobs, many of which are 2 full-time jobs. Now, people, if they can find it, they're not doing that because they want to. They're doing it because they have to. And in these last 2 jobs reports, we saw even that ability become constrained. By now, more people are, most of the jobs created were part-time, in the last report. So he is delusional. He is demented, and a vote for this toothless old dog is really a vote for Kamala Harris.
Right.
At the end of the day, I can't wait for November.
Right. Shelley,
I mean, first of all, you're right as far as the pandemic, Tyrone. Never could that be any more true. But according to the Wall Street Journal, just last week, there was an article that came out talking about this government spending or these job boom or whatever, whereas more than 60% of the jobs over the last year, were created for government or by government, which means that more people are on the government paycheck dole, if you want to call that government healthcare, and now this, I call it a new industry, the social assistance, which basically is a fancy word concept for welfare. These are the people up more than 2/3 of the jobs are, right? Not only that, that same article said, and I quote, those jobs made up less than 30% of the new jobs during the first 3 years of Trump's presidency before the pandemic. So he's lying. He's lying, and whatever her name is, you're right, she's not pushing back. More than ever in 2024, you have more people working for the government or getting some kind of government check than the private sector is able to keep up as far as that pace. That is not a good thing. That is not a good jobs outlook when the government is funding 60% or more of the country.
Yeah. Oh, this is the design. This is what they want.
It is.
This is what they want.
And look, let me apologize. I got a little, excited, and I might have insulted toothless old dogs by comparing them to Joe Biden. So I do apologize to that community for that.
Toothless old dogs still do some good. They still are useful.
Right.
Exactly. And again, it's one thing to be a toothless old dog. It's another one to be toothless and no kind of sense in your head.
Right.
Can't even he can't even speak, and it's not because of him being toothless. He doesn't have anything in his brain to say. The connection is dead.
Even old Yellow was useful.
That's right.
Yeah. I want to keep going here because the lies keep coming, and she finally pushes back a little bit, but take a look here. All right. I want to move forward a little bit. I mean, it's tough to even listen to this guy.
It is, really.
All right, here he is. So she's going to lay it all out to him now, and look at what his response is.
Economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape. They're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along. How many of you guys do a poll at CNN? How many folks you have to call to get one response? The idea that we're in a situation where things are so bad, the folks we've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs. And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation, all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available. But let me say it this way. When I started this administration, people were saying there's going to be a collapse of the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world. Let me say it again, in the world.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still, look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before.
Feel good about it?
Who are these people?
They're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah.
Hear her. She got to help her look and get a rate cut, Mr. President.
In terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation, it was 9% when I came to office.
9%.
But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check. I change that. You can't charge
To
more
what?
than or your
And
credit.
that
Let me stop right here. Let me stop right here.
that was quashed. Okay. The court said no, you can't mess around with that fee.
You can't mess around. Yeah.
Right. They
$30
quashed that.
fee
Look.
has been on since I've been working. Since I was 14 years old, they
Yeah.
were pushing the fees when you bounce checks. What is he talking
What are
about?
you talking about?
Can you bring up the chart? I want to refute Uncle Boosie's nephew. Okay, so this is from John Williams Shadow Stats. If you want to know the real rate of inflation, this is the site you need to look at. It measures it the way we did back in the 80s, okay? Before they started all the sleight of hand with food and energy, which, by the way, are the most frequent interactions that we have with the economy, but in some measures, they don't include those. That blue line shows us where we really are right now.
Wow.
3%, it is 12%
My
inflation.
Lord.
Okay. And we feel that when we go to the grocery store. Okay?
Exactly.
Then the other piece of it is this, and you can take the chart away now if you like. The other piece of it is this. These fools keep saying inflation is down. No, it's just rising at a slower pace. I started out with 10 feet of water in the basement. Okay. An hour later, you know, it was running at a gallon a minute. Hour from that point, it was running at half a gallon a minute.
You still got more water.
Increasing, okay? and they will lie to your face and tell you that inflation is coming down. No, the rate may be slowing, but inflation prices are still rising. You see it in housing, you see it in energy, you see it in food.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things that these bureaucrats, I'm just putting it mildly, that they trip me out with is that they always claim that they can make this market do this and make this market do that. Well, if the government is in control of the market, I guess you could, which is why we don't have competition and why the inflation is going up, because there's not a private sector to compete, if you will. Who can compete against the unending arm of the government, if you will, right? I just came from the grocery store today. Now, I love Wegmans. I know Wegmans, some people think it's already a little bit pricey, but I swear I spent $100 and some change, and I kid you not, the only meat protein that I brought home was some yogurt and some sliced deli meat.
Wow.
$5. I mean, there's corporate greed going on.
Corporate greed.
And it's got to be dealt with.
What about, but there's real pain. Grocery prices are up 30%, more than 30% since the beginning of the pandemic. And people are spending more on food and groceries than they have at any time really in the past 30 years. That's a real day-to-day pain that people
No,
feel.
it really is.
It is.
And it's real. But the fact is that if you take a look at what the people have, they have the money to spend. It angers them and angers me that you have to spend more. For example, the whole idea of this notion that Senator Casey talked about, shrinkflation. I think it's on your
Same
program.
price for a smaller bottle of juice.
What is he saying?
You hear her? She's helping them along. Same
Yeah,
same
20%
price,
less than the
smaller.
same price. That's corporate greed. That's corporate greed.
So again,
No, it's not.
you see what she's doing, right? He already got the answers. He already got the questions. She already knows the answers he's going to say. He's not staying on script, so she's trying to get him back on.
Right.
She's trying to get him back on the script.
And look, Shelly's talking about Wegmans. I'm looking for a food town. Pantry Pride, something. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. Another thing that increases inflation is federal government spending. Okay. And they do a little shell game with this. So that federal spending also is calculated in the GDP. All right. So when you see all of this money going to Ukraine, going everywhere, but Main Street USA, that has the effect of increasing gross domestic product. So when they come out and say, oh, look at gross domestic product, it's up. If you take out the government spending, and federal and state spending is included in the metric. If you take those out, we have been in a recession since 1 month after Joe Biden took office, and we stayed in it.
Right.
Okay,
Wow.
and that's the truth. So that GDP piece and the fact that they are driving inflation with all of this government spending, it's just people need to know that.
And you notice, like you said, the sleight of hand, he talks about corporate greed, right? As if there's no such thing as government greed, number one, right? Number two, this idea of corporate greed, no, it's not. It's called people wanting to make a profit. So why would these corporations, and for the life of me, I don't understand, well, I do, but I don't understand why many of these corporations are in bed with the government, because they're only reducing their profits. Consumers are not spending like they would normally do if there was real competition. So they make up these boogeymen, and then it's like they play this game of projection, this psychological projection. I'm going to make the corporate guys the bad guys, when really it's the government.
Yeah. Well, the whole idea of this is they're trying to get people used to seeing the government pay for more and more. We talked about this last week with the idea of this income, this income from the government. They want us to be on the government tip. They want all of us to get used to getting these checks. You know, they're creating the next major emergency will be something with climate change. So they can again send these checks out. So they want to get us used to doing that. So then when they start saying, okay, you have this money, this will be your stipend for the month or for the week or what have you, get rid of that car. We see the renter nation, rent is high, rent has become more affordable than actually buying a home. They don't want you to own a home. They want you to rent. This is where it's going. It's all by design. It is.
Everybody's gonna be on Section 8, really, technically.
Yeah. Right. And look, there's a lot of news out there talking about, oh, well, renting is better than buying. And there are some points in people's lives where they do have to rent. And I get that, especially if you're starting out, right? But the goal should be to own.
Right.
And there are several reasons for that. And some people try to, get flippant and say, well, you never own it because you're always paying taxes on it. Well, that's better than an annual increase in rent, even after you've retired. Okay. So people need to, and look, America, we might just have to go back to the days of multi-generational households for a little while. I mean, I grew up in a household with 3 generations, a row home, okay, with 1 bathroom. I think I turned out all right. So I think that people are going to have to, look at pooling resources, because when Donald Trump is reelected, it's still not going to be an instantaneous prospect turning the economy around.